Right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. My name's Rick Shiels. I'm here at the Rick Shiels Golf Show podcast. Why have I just introduced myself?
I love that.
Episode 147. I'm here with co-host Guy.
My name's Guy Charlock. I'm here at the Rick Shiels Golf Show podcast.
Today, we've got a guest.
Absolute banger.
So this is an intro because this is the Friday special.
Friday treat.
And you don't get these very often, so treasure it with all your might.
You know what I would see a Friday treat like when you give your kids maybe pocket money? It's
Yes.
like, look, you're going to get £5 today. This isn't a normal thing. Don't get too used to it, but here it is. Enjoy it.
You know what's funny at the
wisely.
moment? Like Jude will find like £1 on the side. He'll go, "Oh, can I have this money, Daddy?" I said, "Yeah, you can have that money." He goes, "Great. I'm going to buy like a bike with it." And you're like, "You need to learn, son." Anyway, today's podcast, we have got a true superstar celebrity on the podcast.
Stop it, Rick. I'm here every week. It's not that big of a deal.
We have got 1/3 of the biggest TV shows in history. Former Top Gear presenter.
Yes.
Now Grand Tour presenter. And also YouTube channel owner
Yes.
from Drive Tribe, Richard Hammond, on the podcast. Never did I think in my wildest dreams that I'd be saying Richard Hammond is coming on the podcast.
On a golf podcast. Yeah, that's the weirdest bit.
Because he's made it very, 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 very apparent that he doesn't like golf.
No?
He said it on national television in front of tens of millions of people.
How dare he?
So we're going to find out today why the hell he's here.
We had a word with him. Quite a stern word. But yeah, the good thing is this podcast has already been recorded like 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And we know, we can promise you this, it's really, really good. Is that bad to say about your own podcast?
I think he elevates it.
You know, yeah, absolutely elevates
It would have been a good podcast. Richard Hammond turned it into a very, very, very good podcast.
Yes.
He's funny, humorous. He is very intelligent, very, very good with talking. You'd expect. He's a TV presenter. And we figure out in this episode why potentially Richard Hammond may become a real golf fan and a golfer.
I would say our podcast normally is like steak and chips. It's good. It really is good, I'd like to think. He was the peppercorn sauce.
Yeah.
It's the elevation that's needed.
He was the onion rings on the side.
Yes.
He was the special service.
Yeah.
He was the real star of
He
the show.
deserved that 10% gratitude tip.
He did. He doesn't get it from this podcast, but anyway, he does.
Deserves it though.
So we're not going to dive into this. We're not going to keep you waiting any longer.
It exploded then.
We're not going to keep you any longer. Sit back, enjoy this phenomenal podcast, golf podcast with Richard Hammond. Richard, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me along.
I'm excited, intrigued, and I'm sinking.
You are literally singing. This has to stay in the podcast.
Sorry, does this always happen? This is part.
This always happens when he's really excited. He weirdly goes down.
Which one of us gets the sinking chair, or is it you deflating? Are you actually deflating and the chair's not sinking?
Let me bring my microphone.
Hey, welcome to my world down there. That's nice. Now you know how it feels. Is it going to just keep going?
So if you are listening to the podcast and not seeing it, my chair is just literally sunk by about 8 inches down.
I love the speed it was going at as
It
well.
was real, proper, gentle. That's quite an expensive effect, that.
Wow.
I'm back in the room.
Okay.
As we walked in, I was dead impressed. This is a proper setup. These boys have got it all. I'm jealous. Now I'm realising, no.
There was we're like swans. It looks nice and smooth on the top, but down below we are paddling. And
we
at the
are
moment,
indeed.
my chair's paddling.
Yeah, downwards.
We've just been out on the golf course, or should we say the driving range, and I've just given you a golf lesson.
I know. Thank you.
I couldn't believe when we first started talking that you, of all people, have got into golf.
I know. Don't you think it's brave?
I think it's brave.
Yeah.
I think you've maybe got the reputation of somebody who, I hate to say it, has given golfers beef.
Yes.
Yeah, I've mocked it.
Mocked,
I was
criticised.
showing off. It was for effect.
I didn't mean it.
I don't think there's anything wrong in being somebody who's prepared to say, right, I've spent 25 years laughing at something and calling it ridiculous, and now it's going to turn out that I like it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong in doing that.
So where did this come from? First off, actually,
yeah.
What did you not like about golfers?
I'm going to be honest. Some of you clothes. I don't want to be rude.
And what? Go on, give us some examples.
Well, everything you wear, the things you put on your bodies to stop yourselves being naked. All of those things that you use.
Everything in golf.
No. It's specifically, it's the hats, shirts, trousers, socks, shoes.
One glove.
Well, you've all lost one glove. The shoes with but I don't know. It's honestly, and if you want me to be serious about it, I've always taken the mickey because if somebody comes along and they're really into something, you've got two choices. You either go, oh, that's interesting, and find out about it, or you laugh about it. And that's kind of what we do as Brits, isn't it? Mm. I was saying to you actually on the way out to our session on the driving range, for which I thank you. We'll come to that. But on the way out, I was saying to you how if anybody's doing anything, if you're really into it and you're with other people doing it, it doesn't matter how you look. Like my interest, I suppose, and I can confess it here, would be hill walking. And this weekend I was up in the Lake District and I bought myself a whole load of new kit, which I haven't done in years. Yep. So I went into a little shop in Keswick and I bought walking boots, new walking trousers, a lot of zips going on, new top and new waterproof
sticks.
No, I draw the line at that.
Oh, are they no go?
Because people coming down the fells looking like crane flies with the legs flapping about, I'm not into that. I don't like that. But any sort of special purpose kit, it's more fun to mock it unless you're into it.
Okay.
But anyway, what I'm saying is I've got a complete about turn, and after taking the mickey relentlessly, I told my two colleagues on the Grand Tour, told James and Jeremy on camera, and I'd saved it because often we talk off camera. And stuff, but I thought, no, I'm going to save this to see what they do. And we were on a boat. I can't remember what we were doing. And I had at that point had 2 golf lessons, which is all I've ever had in my life. And I just had them, and I thought, I'll tell the guys and see how it goes down. And they were appalled. Honestly, and it's you see it on camera. They're like, no, Jeremy didn't speak to me for a couple of days. He was genuinely hurt.
And you were quite happy about
that? Mate, I wish it had been longer. But after 2 days, he did. So I'm quite happy to completely about face and say, no, I'm going to take it up.
And what changed your mind then? What made you start thinking maybe golf is good?
Amazing light. Genuinely, long story short, holiday, south of France. I always take loads of mates with me. We always rent a big place, loads of families together. And they're blokes I've known for years. And we were, the villa was on a golf course at Saint Maxime. And the lads went off to play golf. And I thought, well, I'm not doing that. I don't play golf. And then they came back later that afternoon, grinning, sunburnt, a bit drunk, if I'm honest. But they'd had a and they were just like and there had been some competition and they just had fun.
You felt like you'd missed out.
I want to join them.
A bit of FOMO. You were like,
sat on his own with his walking boots on.
Anybody want to go walking?
To walk with.
No, I was proper jealous. And weirdly, one of the people on holiday with us was my daughter's boyfriend, Cam. Lovely young bloke, plays golf. And we came home straight into lockdown, the first lockdown. So he had to stay with us for a couple of weeks because we had to isolate. Yeah. And being a mad keen golfer, I'd sidled up to him and said, mate, am I too old to start? He said, no, you can have a go. And he mowed me like a little fairway and a hole and a green. And we just had a little play home. I said, this is brilliant. And I decided I'd quite like to get good at it. That was stage 1.
Yes. Yeah.
Stage 2, and I think you know what's coming. Turns out it's impossible.
It's quite literally impossible.
No, it actually can't really be done. And when you think about it, that's quite obvious. Of course it can't. It's a tiny ball and a stick and a massive field. How are you going to get that over there and into there? It doesn't work.
And you've got water.
Yeah.
And bunkers and rough and wind and rain. The more I've spoken about this loads on the podcast, golf is really hard. Yeah. And to crack it, I mean, nobody can. Yeah. You literally cannot crack it because you could say 18 under par, birdie in every hole is cracking it. But even that's not. Yeah. The only way you could actually complete golf is if you went round 18 holes and every hole you got a hole in one. And to your point, that's impossible. So I don't disagree with the fact golf is impossible.
Another reason for giving it grief, you just said 18 under par, birdie in every hole, and you both because like if you do a lot of something, it evolves a language of its own, and that means if you're not part of it, it's like I don't follow football for the simple reason, for whatever reason, when I was 7. it didn't quite chime with me. I didn't get into it. Being brought up, I was in Birmingham, in suburbia. Let's go watch the footy. And I never did. I don't know why. And so I never connected with it. So I didn't have that language. I didn't have those reference points. And if I'm sitting at the bar and everyone's talking about birdies and whatever, and I'm thinking, oh, no, going on about it must be rubbish. Must be rubbish because I don't understand it. It's strange. I don't like it. And so you don't approach it.
Yeah.
And it's quite off-putting. So you should stop talking in code and speak in language that we can all understand. And then you might find, mind you, I thought about this on the way because the lesson we just had today, I really enjoyed it.
Good.
And I think I did progress it a little
You did.
bit. And
You
I'm going
really
to feel
did.
braver to have another go. But I was thinking about it on the way. Yeah, they should make themselves more approachable and stop making it so off-putting because they have to wear special clothes and there's special rules on the golf courses and special language. And then I thought, wait a minute, do they want to stop it being exclusive? Maybe they don't. I like riding bikes. It's my favourite thing in the world. I don't want everybody to do it. I'd rather they didn't.
I think people who work in the industry, who work in golf, people like ourselves and golf coaches and golf clubs, they want more people to play golf.
Yeah.
Because it's going to grow the game and inevitably make more money for the game. I would agree with you in the fact that I don't believe golfers, actual golfers who play every day on a Saturday, every week on a Saturday or every day, they don't want more golfers on their golf courses.
The golfers you just described, right? For me, biking. I've ridden motorbikes since I was 16. That's one of the most important. It's one of the binding, most continuous and important threads in my life. Riding motorcycles. I honestly, if you haven't got your full motorcycle license by the time you're 17, you're banned for life because you didn't want it enough.
Yeah.
So it's too late. You've missed that boat.
If you join in too late,
yeah, you can't do it. No. It's like blokes who take up and women who take up biking in their late 30s because they've suddenly got a few quid and go and buy a really expensive bike and matching leathers. No. You missed it. I'm sorry. You weren't riding around on a 50cc bike at 16 with a pair of wellies taped up to stop your feet getting wet and a waterproof jacket on. So you're not allowed to ride around in your calfskin leathers now matching your R1. You're not allowed.
I think there's two things.
I don't. So I think if you weren't playing golf in the rain, if as a kid you weren't out on a course borrowing the equipment and having a little go, there's too late. You missed it. You didn't want it enough. And you can't take it up now. In which case, I can't take it up.
I know. I was going to say,
I've just talked myself out of it.
What's some of the most ridiculous rules that you think of in golf at the moment?
All of the rules.
Just all of them.
Yeah.
The fact there is rules.
Well, there's quite a lot of weird ones around golf clubs, aren't there?
Yes.
Go on.
Okay.
How could I cause mayhem if I go down to the golf club in Ross?
Okay, there's a few things you can do if you want to not abide by the rules. Okay,
yeah.
First off, quite a simple one: wear your hat in the clubhouse.
Oh my
Cannot do that.
God!
We get people tell us off for wearing them in here on the comments.
Do they?
Yeah,
it's our clubhouse.
So that's very old fashioned, isn't it? That's old fashioned courtesy. I don't mind that. I like that. That one's allowed.
Okay.
If you meet the captain of the golf club, okay, let's call him Bob.
Yeah.
You can't call him Bob. You're not allowed. You have to call him Mr. Captain for the entirety of his captain year.
I do not.
And Lady Captain.
Yeah.
And Mr. President.
Lady Vice
and,
Captain.
And Mr. Chairman. And Junior
Well, yeah,
Captain.
but if Bob's Bob, isn't he?
No,
well,
listen.
What if I've known him for like 30 years and then
This
Bob
year,
becomes...
This year's Mr. Captain.
when you walk in that clubhouse, if you walk
You
on...
do not. That's not
Yeah,
true.
it
You
is.
make- No, you're saying that so that I make a complete whatever of myself if I go into the Ross
No,
golf
that's
club.
true. If you walk onto the first tee and your golf bag has more than 14 clubs, no,
That's not
you get
allowed.
penalised.
What does somebody inspect? Is there a club
In a
inspector?
competition, you
And,
could have.
and I've got one that I think for some golf clubs, okay, you are not permitted to change your shoes in the car park.
What?
You have to go and take your shoes and go and change them in the locker room provided.
Now, hang on. See, I don't mind a rule sometimes. That's so that when you arrive at the club, the car park isn't full of people yelling and shouting across their cars and wrestling themselves out of their loafers and into their golf shoes.
Yes.
That's all right. I don't mind that rule.
There's a few.
It's standards for all because if you make the place smart, you've got to contribute. If you want the place to be smart, you've got to contribute to that.
Yeah. Listen, there's some the other one as well. If you get a hole in one,
Yes.
okay, you've achieved something pretty special.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You then go into the clubhouse and often there's a bell. You ring that bell with pride. You go in there. I've just made a hole in one. You ring that bell with pride. However, that means that you have to buy everybody in the clubhouse a drink.
Serves you right. No, I know what you mean.
Serves you right for being too good.
But what you're saying is, you're right. Is that a British thing only, or even an English thing only?
I think hole in one.
Because that's like a sort of English No, you come round here with your success. We're going to knock you down a peg or two, my friend.
There's a few, definitely hats in clubhouses more relaxed. I would say shoes in car parks are normally at posh golf clubs. And you know what I think it is also to do with, and I must admit, I do agree on this side. Once you finish your round of golf, typically your shoes aren't as clean as when they started. Your golf shoes, there might be grass and
you
stuff.
play it outside, don't you?
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
Not always.
So we'll go to the car, and there's a common thing that golfers will do. They'll get both shoes, and to get the excess grass or mud off the shoes, they'll bang the shoes together.
Yes.
Bang, 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 bang.
Seems
in the car
reasonable.
park.
Yeah.
And all that mud and all that grass is then in the car park.
Yeah.
So I think that's why
Rather
there's
be
also
inside
a
the locker
reason.
room.
That's why also there's a reason to change the shoes in the
But
clubhouse.
do you not think though? So a lot of these rules are genuine, and a lot of them are at more classy. Well, not so classy, but more kind of, what would you, premium golf clubs, maybe more historic golf
Posh.
clubs. Yeah, posh. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
But what annoys me as a golfer who's played since being very young is whenever golf is portrayed like on television, it's always that side of golf that you see. And as you saw today,
It's always
it's
the
very
1970s
posh.
sitcom, middle class, gin and
100%.
tonic,
Flat cap.
aspirational.
And I
cap,
think that
pink.
is what puts people like maybe yourself off previously, when actually there is so many more younger people playing golf, cooler people playing golf, courses without dress codes, different types of golf.
What about short, middle-aged brummies?
There's a new one who started
Talking about
today.
me.
There's a new one. There's a new one that's fallen in love.
I've got a question for you two. And we're still in the car park, right?
Okay.
So somebody's there banging their golf shoes together to get the mud off in the car park. I am appalled. What are they standing behind? What car?
Ah, okay.
This is very interesting because I do believe there's a connection. Typically, golf. If you go to a nice golf club, it's an affluent sport, and often golfers may ride around in some very fancy cars. I've seen some of the best cars I've ever seen in golf club car parks.
They do like a nice car, don't they? Right. What are the no-nos? What could I? Okay, if I was setting off to my local golf club, right, I'm gonna go game golf. Here I go. Of these, what could I go in? What could I not?
Cars wise,
Yeah. If I were to set off in 1927 Model A Ford, that's a vintage car.
lost me. Okay, vintage.
It's a very
car.
very old car.
Yeah.
But like old. I mean, it drip a bit of oil, but it's vintage.
Is it like a classic vintage or like a bit of a knocked up vintage?
Oh,
Is it in good condition?
no, not really. I took it trialing recently. It's absolutely appalling. It's covered in mud.
No,
You're not
too
allowed in
muddy.
my golf club.
Too muddy.
Just the mud.
Clean it.
There's a barrier at the front gate that just wouldn't lift.
Right.
That was your next car.
1968 Mustang 390 GT, just like the one in Bullet.
Loud.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to
It's too loud.
disturb golfers.
It'll disturb golfers 3 courses.
No,
Well, then
you're not
no, you're
coming
not
in.
allowed that. What about a nice estate? What about a nice BMW estate?
Are you talking about the drive tribe one? That's the one we came with. Mike's put a V10 engine. I should explain. We have drive tribe is our thing that we do, which is we haven't got a studio like this, and I'm at least if we did have a studio like this, the seat wouldn't be set.
Yours would actually lift up. Yours would use that.
Was that a height joke?
No,
I think
not
it
at
was.
all.
Yeah, so Mike has, for reasons best known to his own Scottish self, he's decided to put a V10 engine in it and a manual gearbox. And I'm going to find out tomorrow how lethal it actually is. I don't think that would be allowed in. It's quite loud in every sense of loud.
So we're doing a challenge tomorrow,
Yes.
which might be already out on Drive Tribe's YouTube channel, where we are going to go head to head.
Yes.
Around Aintree.
Yes.
You're going to be on the racetrack in this souped up BMW
Utter beast of a thing.
M5
It's
estate.
Ridiculous. Yes.
And I am going to be inside of the racetrack because of the golf course there. And I'm going to be playing a golf hole, a 400-yard golf hole. I can't really sexify the golf hole. I can't say it's roaring. And
The only thing but you can't maybe hit driver. It could be difficult.
And the challenge is you're going to do 2 laps of the racetrack.
Yeah.
A race against me to play 1 hole of the golf course. And I believe, from all accounts, it's going to be incredibly competitive.
The stats tell us it should be really close. And when you're setting up a race like that, and we did it on Top Gear for years, stupid races, there's no point in doing it if the outcome's obvious. You've got it. I don't know, but we will know by this time tomorrow.
We will know by
One
this
of
time
us
tomorrow.
will be just covered in glory, suffused with victory. The other one, broken, wretched. Never able to show their face again because they lost a race that nobody else understands. And that's them finished. Sparkling career.
I think there is a very interesting correlation between people who buy cars, okay? And often, I might be certainly in this category, I would think a lot of people who certainly spend a bit of money on cars it's all about the show. It's all about being fancy and being the part and driving up and pulling up to the workplace in this fancy vehicle or going to the golf club in this fancy car. I think there's a real correlation between how people buy cars and want to show off and how people buy golf clubs and want to show off.
Is it? Because you can spend a lot of money on golf club, can't you?
You can spend more on cars, yes. But
yes, they are bigger.
But yeah, they are. They
have more moving parts.
They do. They can move you around more.
Yes.
There is a definite stature symbol when golfers turn up and they've got a bag of really, really expensive clubs. And typically that comes out of a really expensive car. But surprisingly, not always. I've seen really, really expensive clubs, like some of the top of the range, being dragged out the back of a work van.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you see, this is something I've wanted to do on Drive Tribe for ages, but Mike and Lucy won't let me because they're basically in charge.
They're just off camera, by the way.
That's why. Did you notice? I'm actually getting a dig in at them. I've wanted to do people whose bicycles are worth more than their cars for years, because you often will see somebody with a 12 grand mountain bike on top of an old shed of a Corsa or something.
Honestly.
Worth 500 quid.
And what do you want to do? Ask them why?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Is what I want to say. Because what is? But so you would get that in golf. Somebody will turn up with. And what could if I was going berserk on a set of golf clubs, what could I spend?
Wow.
So it's certainly, if you went more towards the Asian market, there are some golf clubs. So there's a brand called Honma, which is one of the most expensive ones. And you can get a set of golf clubs that are completely customized to you. But when I say customized, I don't particularly mean in specifications. I mean in gold and bling and detail and customization with Richard Hammond hand printed into the golf club, and they look absolutely stunning. And the drive, the head cover is made out the greatest leather known to man.
You're painting a beautiful
and
picture.
And it's hand stitched. The craftsmanship is magnificent.
I mean, where do I sign?
And the golf bag is again, it's handmade. It's been handcrafted to the exact specifications.
It's too much joy. It's like a Marks and Spencer's advert for golf stuff, isn't it?
You could genuinely, you're at least talking 5 figures, and sometimes maybe you could push it to 6 figures. I think a set of clubs, if you went silly expensive, could be close to 100 grand.
Oh, if you went for these Hummers, but there's actually a Bentley. So Bentley makes them. There's $16,000, and again, they're just all super exclusive, super rare.
Bentley, as in Bentley. Well, they started making golf clubs before cars.
Really?
No. Total lie.
But there's got to be some element of this. Bentley have made golf clubs, surely, because they'll have a showroom somewhere, and you know.
Well, yeah, because they can sell it. I mean, is there a limit beyond which you could spend up to this amount, and that's getting a golf club that you physically can never be better than that. You can't.
Yeah, I mean,
and what would that be?
The performance in golf is very interesting because, unlike car performance, there are regulations in how fast the ball can actually be hit off the face.
Regulations.
There's legal requirements. So there's 2 organisations or governing bodies: the R&A.
You said governing bodies, and I'm bored. Sorry.
The R&A and the USGA. I'll do this quickly. They have tests that every club has to match before it will legally be allowed to use in competition use.
So it can't. What, it can't hit a ball any faster. What if I could do that?
Well, you can, but there's tests that it has to pass. So if it passes that test, then obviously someone that can swing it faster can hit it further than somebody else.
But is there a sweet point in golf kit? Is there here's what I'm thinking is, years ago, we used to do a program called Top Gear. Nobody's ever heard of it. With 2 other blokes, nice fellas. I was the main host.
Yes.
There was just a little old man and a little old lady, actually. And it was really sweet.
I know which one's which already.
Yeah, I know which. But we always said that secretly, actually, the answer to the question car is Volkswagen Golf. You don't need any more than that. If you need a bigger one and you've got the money, get a Range Rover. But other than that, VW Golf is kind of GTI. That's you can't use a faster car than that on the road.
See, I knew you always loved golf.
Oh,
wow.
Do you know, well, there it is. Right? It turns out it was a pun all along.
Subliminal messaging.
That's what it
all
was.
along.
So we decided that was a secret that must never come out, because we made a living, obviously, out of helping people agonise through the decisions to what car they should have and admire. But actually, VW Golf. But what I mean is, that is kind of as a benchmark.
Yeah.
You could drive all your life, but pretty much on the road, certainly, Golf GTI, you can't really, you can go around in a Lamborghini Huracan, but realistically, you can't use any more speed than the Golf can give you, so that's what you need.
Yeah.
Is it the same in golfing equipment?
Yes, I would say so.
So we've done loads and loads of equipment tests where we've even gone out and bought some of the cheapest clubs you can possibly buy, just to show you can still play golf with the cheapest golf clubs available that have no custom fitting. And you're right, I think I know what you're going to ask. At my skill level, I can make them work, okay? And there will be a limit. We did a video where I took on a Tour Pro, or an ex-Tour Pro, who's played in the Open, unbelievable golfer. He used the really cheap, basic golf clubs, super cheap, and I used my normal golf clubs, which are not ridiculously expensive, but fairly pricey, a couple of grand. And we had a match against each other, and I think, did we halve it in the end? I think
so.
It was halve, to show that actually quality of golfer still outperforms quality of equipment. It can make you better.
But is there a level of equipment that, as a beginner, like what I am, could hold me back? Because there are cars you could give a new driver to go around a track on, and they would be worse than the slightly more expensive one, because it will answer better. It's just better to use.
The big thing for someone that's a beginner, it would be more. So you have golf clubs that are tailored more for better players, and you have golf clubs that are targeted for new golfers. So if a new golfer got like a set of blades which are very small, like what the pros on tour would use, you would find it much more difficult to use those than you would a nice big kind of chunkier, more forgiving head. So there's a point.
But as a fine-tuned golfer, you could make the blades, the really small clubs, sing. Yeah. You could make them work for you. I remember I went on a track day once, and in that track day, you tried out a Lamborghini, an Audi RA, some sort of a Ferrari. I probably should know all the names of this. And to some degree, I struggled because I couldn't make the gearbox work. I couldn't work out the clutch into the perfect timing. I couldn't make that car sing as well as the demonstrator, the professional driver.
It makes perfect sense, and a bit like the small blades on the golf clubs, because in a really, really fast car, it's designed to be on the edge. Same with fighter aircraft versus an ordinary aircraft. If it's going to be able to change direction quickly and be that nimble and responsive, it has to be on the edge, on the limit. Effectively, if you're not concentrating, it wants to drive up that slope and over the edge tomorrow. It doesn't want to do what you want to do. So it requires constant input, and I can imagine it's the same with golf equipment.
So the big thing that has changed, and something that we talked about, well, Rick mentioned in your lesson before, golf equipment has hit a wall, really, because these rules that these governing bodies have put in place. However, what's been the big change in the last 10 years or so, maybe 15 years, is what you saw before with the lesson was a launch monitor. So now when people are buying clubs, there's so much more emphasis on getting ones that are tailored to suit them. So that can be in terms of the length of the golf club, the weight of the golf club, the material of the shaft, how thick the grip is, the handle. Have you got big hands or small hands? So all these things now can be tailored to you. So you can go out and buy a set of clubs that are basically fitted for you. They wouldn't work necessarily for me or for Rick. But once you've then bought that set, if you've been fitted well and correctly by a trained golf club fitter, in reality, you wouldn't need to swap those golf clubs forever, potentially, because of the rules in play. Unless these rules suddenly change, which they won't.
Can you write all this down? Because I have to explain to my wife if I spend money on anything. And I need to know that it needs to be the good stuff, because it'll make a difference.
The simple analogy, it's like buying a pair of shoes. If you went into a shoe shop and grabbed the shoes, they may be your size, but equally they could be two sizes too big or too small. You could pick a driver off the shelf, and weirdly, it could be the one for you. Equally, you might want to try 5 different heads and different shafts, and that's something that you would worry about as a customer. The fitter should do all that for you. You just hit them, and they find the one that works for you.
If you get a good fitting, they will give you the prescription. Yes. They'll say, okay, this is what's suited to your game. And I think that's, again, a huge difference, I guess, because unless, let's say, you're a Formula 1 driver, you jump in a car and you adjust the seat yourself. You can change the steering wheel. You can kind of custom fit it yourself, really, to some degree, apart from F1 cars where they have it molded, I'm guessing. But yeah, it's a very interesting sport in equipment. And unlike, again, I know we keep using these analogies in cars, there's no limits in cars. They can always get acceleration quicker. I guess there's no limit in how quick the acceleration can be.
Ultimately, you're going to struggle with aerodynamics coming to play in the end, and then it becomes finessing it to an incredible degree. And we're probably not far off it. It happened with sports bikes. So I started riding motorbikes as a kid, And it was, I suppose, a sort of Z900. This will mean nothing to anybody, but they wanted sort of big, quite, they look great, powerful bikes. Then gradually sports bikes became the thing. But then by the mid to late 90s, they couldn't go much further on the road. They're still doing it, but that's not where the excitement lay. So you're looking for a different type of thrill. So I think there is a limit. Definitely there's a limit.
So after your golf lesson today, and your bit of experience, what are you excited about or moving forward? What would you love to do with your golf?
What I'm going to do is, job one, find my golf clubs.
Yes, that's key. That is key.
Good start. So I'll dig them out of the barn where they are, and then I'm going to go for a little practice. I'm going to go up to the driving range at the golf course near me somewhere, and all I want to do is get to the point where I can play a round of golf. I think what we should do is hook up when I feel I can.
I'm excited about that.
And then so we'll do that here. And then on Drive Tribe, I want us together to do the people whose golf clubs are worth more than their car.
Yes,
I want to do that. That must have happened.
100%.
The other one I'd love to do, I want to run this idea past you, is let's get some Bentley golf clubs. Yeah. And let's get a Bentley car and let's have a little bit of fun.
That's just sounding really expensive.
I think
catastrophically
a runway.
Yes.
Some Bentley golf clubs.
Okay.
A Bentley car.
Yeah.
We can have some races. Let's try and get one with a drop top. Let's try and get and let's try and land golf balls in the back
Continental
of the Bentley.
GTC is what you want.
And then let's land some balls into the back.
Yeah,
of the
they'd love
Bentley.
that. They'd
let's
love
see
that.
how well a cup holder takes a golf
ball
on the fly.
Oh, what a shot that would be.
Let's see how responsive the steering wheel is and the airbag when we smash a golf ball at it.
Again, this is not things we've thought of on Drive Tribe. We might do those. We do have a place for things that we might put that on What Next, which is a sort of sister channel to Drive Tribe, where we put things that we know Drive Tribe was actually like this. A lot of Drive Tribers would love golf because it's got a kit in it and it's a sport and it's really difficult and you get good at it. And we wouldn't put that on Drive Tribe because we try and keep that just for car stuff. Otherwise, there's only so much room and they get cross and bored. So
I've got one more.
What Next?
We get the Bentley.
Yeah.
We wind the two front windows down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not me, with your incredible skill now, you have to hit a golf ball through. One
is it moving or is it stationary?
Oh,
I think stationary to start.
You're going to take somebody's head off. Is the problem.
I think moving makes it easier for Richard.
Okay.
What?
Because if it's...
But I'd have the windows open driving a car and you're going to fire golf balls at me. Can you see the floor
You're
in this?
hitting the golf balls.
Right.
I'll drive if you want me to drive. I trust you.
That's because you know I won't hit you.
I feel like you could be aiming at the window, but because maybe, and I'm only predicting the future at the moment, you might not be perfect.
I'll give you lead.
You could slightly miscue it, and then it goes through the windows.
Yeah.
So listen, it's food for thought.
Let's be on the ideas board for now.
Bentley,
we've ended this on a big editorial chat for all of us together in our respective organisations to make content that's never been considered before.
I think it can work.
I don't see where there's any problem. I don't see where it could go wrong.
Before we come on to some questions from our fans and listeners, we've got loads as well.
Got a lot.
Do you honestly think you could ever get Jeremy or James into golf? What would it take?
Some sort of strong drug to knock them out. I don't think so. I think they've taken a stance too strong to step back. I mean, I have had quite a response.
Almost gone more anti?
I think since I decided I'd give it a go.
Yeah. Since you came out,
I mean, it was a bit cheeky on me. I did have to have a bit of a, I'm going to do this before I did it. And now it's quite liberating. I can just talk about it. I mean, I've had a bit of grief from people.
I also would like to see, next time you film with the guys, when that comes up, maybe checked pants.
Yes, full golf outfit, visor
on them,
on you, one glove on as well.
How am I going to explain that?
Checked hat.
How am I going to? You've
visor.
Seen we just our uniform.
And when you walk into a room, a clubhouse, you take your hat off and you ring the bell and you buy everyone a drink and you're never allowed to change your shoes in any car park ever.
Okay. Yeah, we could try and introduce these things. And then I won't have a job, and
I'm going again.
I'll have more time to play golf.
Yeah.
So that's quite good.
Yeah, I love that.
We have a Facebook group for this podcast, and we put a quick picture on then. It's blown up. A lot of people want to ask you questions.
Are they nice questions?
We're not going to vet them.
A mixture.
We're just going to go for it. We're just going to go.
Right.
If you're listening or watching, this is the place to be in the Rick Shiels Golf Show podcast Facebook group because you get access to questions like this to ask Richard. So Stuart Mitchell has said, Why is the VW Golf called Golf when you can't get golf clubs in the boot?
Do you know, that's a test I've never done with them. And this is why our two worlds need to work together more, because there's a lot of things we've got to work out. You could if you put the seats down, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the story of why it's called a Golf.
I know, nor do I. I had a Golf before my car now. It was good. TDI, it's all I know.
Wait a minute. Your life is golf.
Yes.
You had a VW Golf.
Yes.
And you didn't think to investigate why it's called the VW Golf.
Rick's gonna do that
Yours
for me
is
now.
not a naturally inquisitive mind, is it? Because that would have been my first question. It's named after the first thing in your life, and you didn't think, I wonder why.
I never thought it. The only thing I know is you have to take your longest golf clubs out. So you drive it and your 3-wood, which are the longest in length. If you take those out, the clubs then do fit in the back. That's from experience.
The Golf,
Yes.
the Volkswagen Golf,
Teaching us about cars.
refers to the Gulf Stream.
I never knew that.
So
Or the
basically,
Polo?
the Passat it means trade wind.
Yeah, I knew that was a win, because there's a few cars
let's see
named
what else
after
there
wins.
is.
Scirocco's another one.
Oh, wow.
Let me get some up.
I got another great question here
Go on.
from Simon. Can't pronounce his surname. Sorry, Simon. What's your favourite Japanese car?
I still like a Supra. I always had a soft spot for them. GTR's nice. My first car was a Toyota Corolla liftback. Yes.
I don't know what that
That's
one
a
is.
Japanese car. There's one in the Blues Brothers. It's a brown one. It's not a star of the film. it's on a street scene as they walk past it. So possibly that. I still like that. I'd love an SX. I don't know. I could go on. I'll go on and on now until I get bored.
Very
The
quick
original
one.
MX-5, if you think about it. Sorry. Yes.
The Polo refers to the polar winds.
Yeah. Well, so there were. I knew
the
there were a
wind.
lot of wins. So Scirocco was another one.
They were nice cars.
So
Yeah,
Gulf
they
is
were.
Gulf is basically the Gulf Stream.
You know, this is the problem with cars. I'm bored already.
So when you said, "Are the nice questions?" There was some. There's also a bit of a dig here from Daniel Jones. He says,
Daniel,
Block him.
"Please ask him, have you ever crashed a golf buggy?"
There was an incident when there was a golf buggy crash when we were away doing our live stage shows. But I can't remember. I was too drunk to remember who crashed it. It might have been me. It might have been one of the others.
I like the fact I was too drunk to know who
I
crashed.
don't
it.
know. So I don't think I've crashed a golf buggy. The problem is if people ask me those questions, and then I'll always get corrected by somebody else who says, "Yes, you did in 19 whenever. I saw it." Oh yeah, sorry. I just say yes. I probably have.
Something we've already alluded to, but Bryce Sparling has asked, "Has Jezza and May disowned you now that you're in a golf podcast?"
Oh yeah, they
Yeah,
will
they
have done.
will
No,
have
this is
definitely.
This
a
is
note.
it. This
They're
is
not
the
here. But to be fair, the chances of them stumbling across this,
We're going to tag. We're going to tag them in it. We're going to do everything. How many cars do you actually own?
Quite a lot. I sold a load though to set up a classic car restoration business called The Smallest Cog. Turns to demonstrate T-shirts.
Yes.
And so I had to sell quite a lot of them to buy equipment for that. I had to buy like a oven and
And what's the smallest car?
The Smallest Cog is a car restoration business out where I live in Herefordshire, and it's set it up initially with a guy called Neil Greenhouse in his St Anthony. They'd restored my cars for years, absolutely brilliant, and they lost their workshop. I took the chips in every Friday for Fish and Chip Friday, and we were sat having a chat, and he was a bit miserable. What's up? Well, I'm losing the workshop, and that would have been it. So I said, well, I'll fund us into another business. That's all I can usefully do. My grandfather was a coach builder, so I'm in that. It's in my blood. I'd love to do that. And then I thought that might make a TV show, and it did turn into one. So
Wow.
That's what I've been doing today.
So this morning you were doing that?
Yeah. We were just finishing off a car and delivering it to the owner. Well, he was coming to collect it.
That's very cool. So is there a number of how many cars you own right now? How many cars have you ever owned? As in like...
Oh, wow.
At one point.
Oh, your most at once.
Yeah, what's the big...
I've probably reached sort of 20 odd at some point, and more motorcycles than cars. But I've thinned it right down now. As I say, I had to. So I don't know. Some.
A couple of weeks ago, I had an incident with an electric car.
Yeah.
I had an Audi
Yeah.
e-tron GT RS. Phenomenal. Loved it, every bit of it. But bloody charging the thing.
Yeah, it is an issue, you know. It has
really,
been mentioned.
Really.
It's
Couldn't believe how bad it
It's
was.
an issue if you're someone that doesn't like to plan, isn't it? Which
I didn't plan.
Rick's
Right,
not
that was
planner.
his problem.
I didn't plan.
Yes, Rick's not
Well,
planner.
I thought I'll be able to do it somewhere. I'll plug it in somewhere.
And there's other things. I'm not anti-electric car at all. They can be incredibly exciting. I run a Mercedes EQS, which just because it's got a 450-mile range, which is what you should have had.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way they deliver their power is exciting. Whisper quiet. I don't mind the silence. It's exhilarating. they are more functional, and I think they will form part of a broader carscape. They are one solution for some people in some situations. Other solutions would be synthetic fuels made with renewable energy that can be used in the existing car fleet, and doesn't mean we have to scrap the entire global car fleet and turn all the petrol stations into charging stations, the carbon footprint of which will take thousands of years to offset. So that doesn't work. It needs to be a kaleidoscope. Some electric, some synthetic fuels. If it goes depot to depot, like a bus, you never see buses in petrol stations because they don't fill up in them. They fill up at the depot. Well, they could have a big tank of hydrogen at the depot, which is topped up regularly, fill up there. That would be the solution for them. So there will be all sorts.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. Any more questions?
Yeah, there's lots of people asking that they can't believe you started playing golf. A lot of people are asking,
Wait
again,
a minute.
is Jeremy disowned you?
You can't have a go at me, dear subscriber, for playing golf. Because you found that out on a golfing channel.
That is very
so
true.
why were you looking at it? You can't follow my logic there.
And also, the amount of people asking if you crashed a golf cart is quite worrying, Richard. So
I do have a reputation for that.
I think you do, yeah.
Well, you drove me around the golf cart today.
Did I crash?
Splendidly.
No.
Thank you.
You know what? I've never felt safer.
It wasn't upside down. It wasn't on fire.
Because I thought, he can't again.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No. I'd have to tell my wife.
I thought he can't. There's no way he can crash another thing, so it'll be fine.
Well, we're not when this podcast goes out, I'm not too sure. So the video of your lesson may be out now, or it may not. I'm not sure on that. If it's not out yet, wait for it. It's a very good one. But I want to compliment you both, actually. So get ready for. I never really compliment Rick, so he's going to get excited.
No, I got that impression.
For a new golfer, I was genuinely very impressed by your potential and the fact. Genuinely, did you have one air shot? Did we say at the start, or was it even one?
It was like we called it a practice swing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, seriously, hand on heart, for a new golfer is very impressive. So you definitely have got some skill there. And I think some speed. We saw some signs of the speed. When you wanted to hit one, you could. So that was my comment to you, Richard.
Thank you.
For you, Rick, I've not seen you coach. Although you do a lot of coaching videos, which we obviously put on YouTube, and thankfully we help lots of golfers get into the game and improve. I've not seen you one-on-one coach really for a long time, because you don't do it now, really. I was impressed.
Thanks, pal.
I thought you made it simple. Richard said, make it simple. I'm not a big golfer. Don't use all fancy terms. And it was good.
Maybe we could start a series, and you will be the first guest on this new series.
Coaching.
Teaching celebrities.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Who's next?
And by then I'll have secretly got really good, but I'll pretend never to have played at all. And then I can really improve, and then you'll look brilliant, I look brilliant, everybody wins.
Yes.
Perfect. Don't quit now. You're not allowed to quit.
No, I'm going to keep practicing.
Richard, you have been an absolute pleasure. I cannot wait for our little challenge tomorrow.
It's going to be
pretty
I'm looking
epic.
forward to that.
I'll have to have my running shoes on and my shorts and ready to go on possibly one of the hottest days of the year tomorrow.
You're going to cook.
So we'll see what happens. Richard, you've been amazing. Thanks
Yes,
very much for
you.
listening, watching, subscribing. Do make sure you check out Drive Tribe, fantastic YouTube channel, which makes some really fun, cool content. And also The Smallest Cog, the new business.
Well, with that, still
Give that
doing
a shout
stuff.
out. And is that going to be out at some point in the future?
That's out on Discovery Plus. At the moment, it's going to Quest now. We're on the second series of it, so that's going to rumble on, hopefully, for some time.
Amazing.
So
Check that out. Guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all very soon.
See you soon.